Your biggest mistake as an actor?
Oh God, they happen daily. I really don't think there was anybody else who was going to get this job. It was so unique and so specific to me.
How did you decide to write I Don't Want to Read in this book?
I was not somebody who liked to read at all. Man, I don't think I've ever been more proud of anything in my entire life.
Nice. Hey, Max.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, man.
I'm a little bit of a sports junkie, and I think I understand that you might be a football fan.
I'm so deep into the NBA right now.
Who's your team?
The Knicks.
Randall, another jumper here.
Are you a basketball only, or do you like wander into baseball, or did you watch the Olympics at all, or tennis or anything else?
Hold on, let me just make sure my dog's okay, because he's going nuts.
What kind of dog? Let's see the dog.
Joey, say hi.
Hey, Joey.
Yes.
Hey, how old is Joey?
Joey was a rescue. We got Joey lockdown specifically. Okay. My daughter really, really, really wanted a dog. We thought if we were ever going to do it, this is the time to do it. And we called this wonderful place called Wags and Walks, which is a rescue out in LA. And I called them and I said, listen, we're not going to be good dog owners. We don't know how to train a dog. It's questionable who the alpha is in the house. Best of your ability, give us a guarantee that the dog will not be aggressive towards kids. And they said, you need Joey. And then so we went to meet Joey, and he's a real prince.
I love the fact that Lily and Ozzy are kind of running the show, and like nobody's confused about that. Wait, now how old are they right now?
Lily is 11. And Ozzy will be 6.
What were you like in high school?
It was a public high school, and we graduated with a really, really small group of kids. Dobbs Ferry was somewhat of an idyllic sort of place to grow up. You had the disadvantage of having a big community, but you had the advantage of a tight-knit small group, and everybody knew each other, and you could move around. And we rode our bikes to each other's houses and stuff, and we'd all go party in the woods in high school. It was cool. And the only one who went off and became an actor.
So now, if I'd asked them in high school, what did you think was going to become of Max? What would they have told me?
I think some creative people find it right away, and some need to really find themselves, and then they find it. And I think that was sort of more my journey. It took me a minute.
How did you figure out that you wanted acting?
The hard way, Carl. We didn't have much of a theater program. I think we did some middle school plays, but it was always something that I felt like I really wanted to be a part of. And oddly enough, in New York, it still didn't feel realistic. And it wasn't until I moved out to California where I went, oh, people really do this. When I moved out to California, and then broken it to my father that I was no longer going to pursue a college career.
Right.
That didn't go over too well. I started to get into acting classes out in Los Angeles and felt like, oh, this is something I really love and I really want to do, and work with a bunch of different teachers, and really studied and was auditioning at the time. Felt like I just hope I'm lucky enough to catch a few breaks. I got very, very lucky after a long time of beating my head against the wall, and have sort of been just riding this ever since New Girl started.
And did you know that New Girl was going to be a hit?
I did. I've been doing this long enough and auditioning for pilots and been in TV long enough, and my wife worked in TV as well, and she understood that business better than anyone. So when New Girl happened and Zooey Deschanel had come onto the show, who's really coming off of a movie career and doing a network sitcom, which was kind of unheard of at the time. You then had Liz Merriweather, who created the show, who was really in demand, this unique writer, and Jake Kasdan, who was this incredible director and had a track record of Freaks and Geeks and a movie career. You went, man, this is stacked. And so when myself and Jake Johnson, who played Nick on the show, we got cast in the same day, I remember thinking, this could be a real thing.
What would you whisper to your younger self? Like, dude, forget what they tell you. Here's how you freaking get an opportunity like this.
Well, the short answer is luck. I remember around year 2 or 3, someone had sent me the pitch document that Liz Merriweather used to pitch the show.
Right.
And in that, it's sort of like a small Bible that just goes into detail about what the show is, what it could be, who the characters are. And when she wrote the blurb about Schmidt, I really don't think there was anybody else who was going to get this job. It was so unique and so specific to me.
Not only am I the youngest person in this loft, I'm also the most successful.
Are you honestly measuring yourself like a little boy?
I'm sorry that you're not growing anymore like me, and apparently I'm gonna be growing forever. I'm like a Jewish Peter Pan, Petya Pan, Peta Pan, Pesach Pan.
You're an actor. You're dependent on other people and writers who are writing roles and directors who are putting things together and have a vision for what a role looks like. So not only do you have to be right for the role, but you have to be right for the director who sees the role a certain way and right for the writer who hears the role a certain way. And so when I say luck, like that's really what it means. And then outside of that, you just really want to get yourself in a position where there's nothing blocking you from being able to give an audition that is authentic to who you are and to what you're capable of doing. So I think it's those two things. It's like really luck and the mental preparation for putting yourself out there and not allowing other things to like just get in the way.
You ever talk to people who are in other arenas like sports or music or others about how they get ready for their equivalent of that?
I think one of the things I've learned for sure is you do it enough, it gets out of your system.
Okay.
Like all the nerves and stuff. When I started a family, when I was married, we had our first child. You just put so much less stock into auditioning and trying to work, and ironically it becomes you want those things more, but you want them in a different way. Yeah. There's a guy named Ryan Flaherty. He's the trainer at Nike, or he's one of the guys that run their training department, which is a big deal. And he used to train Serena Williams, and he works with all of these NFL guys. And we went to go visit him up at the Nike campus. And one of the things I asked him, I was like, what's the difference between the great ones and the good ones? One of the things he said was, I've noticed that the really great ones, and he referenced Serena and Russell Wilson, and he says, they talk to themselves. They will talk to themselves out loud. I try to do that, and it's really helpful. So like when the show I'm on right now, The Neighborhood, which is so much fun, but specifically when we were doing it in front of a live studio audience, it's a high energy environment, and you're running 5-6 pages of dialogue, and then a director will come in and give you notes, or a writer will come in and tell you, we want you to hit this joke like this, or maybe we'll change this joke. And so you're having to stay in it and really like remember these moments.
You know, I used to play all the time back at home until a gang took over our course.
Oh, I didn't know they had gangs in Kalamazoo.
Canada geese. For Canadians, incredibly vicious.
I'll be backstage and I'll talk to myself out loud. I think when you start to talk to yourself out loud in those moments, in those pressure situations, it also blocks out other voices in your head that might be telling you, that might be looking for an escape route, if that makes sense.
That 100% makes sense.
Specifically in those high pressure moments. But because they're high pressure moments, other things start to come in and emotions start to bend your thoughts in ways that aren't always good. So to have a voice that you can hear, that you can speak through, really breaks down those other voices and allows you to like stay focused and into what you know works and what is needed for this moment.
All right, your biggest mistake as an actor?
The biggest one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, they happen daily. My first take is usually a nightmare.
Finally finished my last and here we go.
But it shows me exactly what works and what doesn't work and where I need to go from there.
Do the directors ever get pissed and be like, dude, cut to do a good one this first time?
No. I hear Clint Eastwood does like only one take. I will never work with him. I can't work that way. Our styles, they don't match.
What about this book? How did you decide to write a book called I Don't Want to Read This Book?
We had just wrapped season 3 of The Neighborhood. And as we wrapped the show, simultaneously, we were thrown into lockdown.
Breaking news tonight, the coronavirus forcing millions more Americans into virtual lockdown.
I was now home, which I had expected to be anyway. But so was my daughter, and she was no longer going to school. So I was tasked with being her teacher on that following Monday. And the school that she went to just sent home a curriculum. And we both were very aware that this was worst case scenario. So much so that we found it hilarious. I said, let me take a picture of this and put it on Instagram because surely we're not the only ones going through this. We got all these responses. I went, okay. Then one thing led to another. We started making videos together.
So how do you find the area of the square?
So basically...
Okay, so how do you find the perimeter?
So basically...
How do you find the perimeter of an irregular shape?
So basically,
Who fought in the French-Indian War?
So basically the, Indians ain't trying to be cool like you, wobbling around in your high heel shoes. I'm clumsy. Okay.
We had first responders writing us and being like this, these videos are everything. And I was like, I'm so stressed out. I feel like I'm running a TV show right now. 45-second videos.
Is there anything you want to say to Deb?
Yeah, can we post me to Starbucks?
No.
So I had an agent call me, this guy Albert Lee, who was at my agency at UTA, and he goes, I love what you're doing with your daughter. I think this is a book. I can't. And he goes, well, what if it's a children's book? I go, he's like, a picture book. And I go, oh, that's interesting. And I thought about my own experience with my kids, and they don't like to read. And every night I walk into Lily's room and we go through her shelf of thousands of books, and I said, do you want to read this book? And she goes, no. But what about this one? No, I don't like that book. And it's just, you go through all of them and you're like, I guess you don't want to read anything. We could have read a book at this point. So I call Albert and I go, listen, the book would be called I Don't Want to Read This Book. It's all the reasons why you don't want to read a book. And by the end of the book, you've read a book.
Right.
Then I start writing the book and I realize, man, this is the most personal thing that I've ever put out there as an artist. I got really emotional during it because I was not somebody who liked to read at all.
Right.
I get overwhelmed by a long email. My daughter certainly helped me with the book, and I would talk to her friends about it. I would be like, what do you hate about reading? And I'd be like, I hate that too. And I got to a place where I was like, man, I don't think I've ever been more proud of anything in my entire life.
I think it's such a beautiful thing on so many different levels. I mean, the fact that it got you uncomfortable, that you didn't say yes right away.
It's one of these things where you look at it on one side and it's this fun book for kids who don't like to read. And then I think on another side of it, it's what I hope is a voice for kids who don't fall in love with reading in the way that they're so often expected to.
You are definitely going to have to give that away at her school.
She was really excited about it. I can't believe she goes, you should come in and read it to the class. And she's at an age where she doesn't want me to come in and do anything for the class. So the fact that she was excited about it and wanted to be a part of it and involved was the highest compliment.
Hey, Max, do you mind if I do a little rapid fire with you?
I'm ready.
If you had to choose your favorite book other than the one you've just written, what's your favorite book?
There's something about David and Goliath that I really liked.
If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would you love to meet and have dinner with?
Well, I'm quite enjoying this, Carlos. I would love to go to dinner.
Hey, you know what? We will go to dinner. We're going to
dinner at a Knicks game. I'm in.
If you, right now, you get to be the general manager of the Knicks, what's the one move you would make?
I would sign this Deuce McBride to a contract.
Who's your favorite comedian?
Cedric the Entertainer.
What's the best nickname you've ever been given?
I can always tell when I'm talking to somebody from New York because they'll always just use your last name.
Right.
Like, Greenfield. They say it in like a fun kind of cool way. And you go, no one calls me that. That's cool.
Right. I could see Greenfield. I could see Greenie. I bet you a couple people have given you Greenie before.
I don't know. Maximilian never fit.
I would have called you Max Factor if we were playing basketball together. I would have.
Only if I was hot.
But only if you were hot. I would have called you the Factor. Man, thank you for making time.
Well, this was great, man. Thank you so much for having me.